The early 2000s was the height of the chick flick. You had The Princess Diaries, A Walk to Remember, A Cinderella Story, and more. These movies didn't do well critically, but they did okay at the box office, and that was the case for most chick flicks at the time. That is until Mean Girls was released in 2004. Now, when Mean Girls was originally put out in theaters, nobody thought that it would be a critical or financial success, not even Tina Fey. But over a decade later, and people are still quoting this movie. But why? Well, it's simple really. It's not just because the lines are iconic, but Mean Girls handles the topic of social hierarchy in high school and bullying really well. As many may know, Mean Girls was based on the book Queen Bees and Wannabes by Rosalind Wiseman. She interviewed actual teen girls for the book. This in turn inspired many scenes in Mean Girls. This is why the movie felt really realistic. And the problem with Mean Girls, as many successful movies, is studios like to replicate what's successful to make a quick buck without understanding why. 2 years later, John Tucker Must Die is released in theaters, and once again, it does okay financially, but isn't really regarded well critically. I think there's a lot we can learn from John Tucker Must Die, not just because it has a similar premise as Mean Girls. I think we can learn a lot from John Tucker Must Die's shortcomings the same way we can learn from Mean Girls' success. Conflict is an important part of a story because it makes the audience question whether or not the protagonists will achieve their goal. It's also the easiest literary device to understand. Internal conflict is the main character versus themselves, and external conflict is the main character versus everybody else. The conflicts in John Tucker Must Die aren't really well built. Kate's internal conflict is barely there because she flip flops between being a nice person, being a mean girl, and being the voice of reason. It's also skewed because she doesn't have any real character traits. Her external conflict is misdirected at her mom when it should be towards her new friends. She tells her mom that she won't lose herself,
I was nobody, so there's really no risk in losing anything.
but they don't have any real close relationship for this to feel like an actual problem. Compare this to Caddy from Mean Girls.
It's pronounced like Katie.
Her
Internal conflict.
is that she thinks she's a good person, even when she replaces Regina. She just thinks that everything she's done is a means to an end. This ties into her external conflict. When people start turning on her when she turns into the new Queen Bee, they also turn on her because they think that she wrote the burn book. They work together towards her arc when she finally has her come to Jesus moment.
Calling somebody else fat won't make you any skinnier. Calling someone stupid doesn't make you any smarter. And ruining Regina George's life definitely didn't make me any happier.
Kate barely has a character trait or a personality. Liking Elvis Costello doesn't count. This makes her a boring protagonist. They're clearly going for the same arc as Caddy, but it doesn't work since we barely know anything about her. Caddy feels like a well rounded person. Kate does not. Hypermasculinity, a sociological term denoting exaggerated forms of masculinity, virility, and physicality. Scholars have suggested that there are three distinct characteristics associated with the hypermasculine personality. 1. The view of violence as manly. 2. the perception of danger as exciting and sensational, and 3. Callous behavior toward women and a regard toward emotional displays as feminine. That last part especially applies to this movie as its portrayals of femininity are problematic to say the least. Women can't control their feelings because of estrogen. All popular girls are mean and superficial. Older women are gross and prudish, unless they're hot. John Tucker is surrounded by enablers. He is constantly getting a slap on the wrist instead of an actual punishment. And it's not just adults. Other teenage boys enable this behavior. Scott, his brother, is the complete opposite of this hypermasculine ideology. At some point in the movie, John claims that he is more than just a jock.
Maybe sometimes I come on too strong. I don't know who else to be. I just gotta put my whole heart into things.
That sounds like an easy way to get it broken.
Well, luckily I figured out a way to protect myself against that.
But he never actually shows this. Does he act this way because of peer pressure? To clarify, I think the movie could have done more to explore peer pressure amongst teen boys and showed how peer pressure amongst teen boys is just as damaging as it is for teen girls because everybody's trying to enforce beauty standards even if it is unconscious. The other girls never confront him either. Like, this is a big high school. You'd think that the rumor that John Tucker cheats on girls would make him a lot less attractive. Instead, the movie plays off him cheating as a joke, especially with the last scene, where he goes behind his new girlfriend's back and cheats and then claims that he wants a polygamous relationship. This movie could have easily deconstructed the jock stereotype without having him do any stereotypical thing like writing poetry or dancing ballet. Everybody loves a good teen rom-com, even if not everybody will confess to this out loud because rom-coms are considered lesser art. Nobody ever talks about the impact romance can have on a teenager's life, probably because it's seen as temporary, unimportant, or superficial. Nobody's ever satirized teen romance like they do teen slasher movies or high school hierarchy, when it's the exact opposite. Teen relationships are important for the brain to develop into a healthy adult.
Although romantic love can apparently strike at any age,
the youngest person that I ever found who was in love was 2.5.
It's in the adolescent years that it takes on the life and death importance of Shakespearean tragedy.
It's clear that John Tucker Must Die was trying to make commentary about teen relationships, but it gives up halfway so Kate can learn the lesson of being herself, which, in my opinion, is unnecessarily shoehorned into every teen movie. Voiceover would have been a good way to add this commentary, but it fails miserably because Kate's voiceover adds nothing to the movie. I know that everybody mentions Goodfellas as a good example of voiceovers. Henry's voiceover gives me information about something I would have never known about. I was not raised in the 80s or 70s and know nothing about the mafia. That's what voiceovers should do, give the audience information that they wouldn't have guessed themselves. Mean Girls does the same thing by having Caddy narrate things about Girl World that she thinks is ridiculous and seems very foreign to her.
Having lunch with the plastics was like leaving the actual world and entering Girl World. And Girl World had a lot of rules.
You can't wear a tank top 2 days in a row, and you can only wear your hair in a ponytail once a week. So I guess you pick today.
Kate could have done the same thing since she has no dating experience. She could have talked about how relationships can be made out to be complex when it really doesn't have to be. Beth, Carrie, and Heather are girls who get their hearts broken by John Tucker, but they stay stereotypes of mean girls the entire movie. There is no nuance about how teen girls and being in love can impact people, or the deconstructions about how love can make teen girls act stupid or like a dumb blonde. This movie could have easily turned into one about girls getting past their cheater boyfriend who learn to support each other and don't want to destroy one another. You know the stereotype that girls marry their fathers? Well, to a certain extent, this is true. Girls with good relationships with their fathers often, but not always, marry somebody similar. Girls with bad relationships will try to marry someone who's the exact opposite. This is because parents set the standard of what a healthy relationship is. Kate doesn't have a father in this movie, but her mother is an important part of her life. Lori is constantly getting her heart broken by the same type of guys. Then she moves to another city, I guess, and Kate never seems affected by this. She seems like a well-rounded teen. The movie never explores why she dates these scummy guys, but at the end, she says that she told Skip to go home, and it's wavered away. It seems that Lori got over her whole Skip thing very easily, when it shouldn't have been. This movie could also explore everybody's family dynamic and explain why these girls are so obsessed with John. It could also explain why John is who he is, when his brother Scott is the exact opposite. I don't think that John Tucker Must Die is the worst movie I've ever seen. In fact, it probably doesn't even hit top 10. However, it's clear that the movie or the director or whoever was in charge couldn't decide on what it wanted to be. Like, if you're going to do commentary, don't half-ass it. I feel like everybody in this movie deserved a better script. Brittany Snow deserved a better script. Sophia Bush deserved a better script. Ashanti deserves to be recognized for her contributions to pop music. I'm sorry, she's not a very good actress. I feel like this movie's only memorable because of nostalgia. Well, mostly because of nostalgia. It'll never be like Mean Girls because, like I said, the script isn't all the way there and the movie can't decide if it wants to be a commentary or not. If you're going to do commentary, do commentary. Teens aren't stupid. They understand complex ideas and thoughts and emotions. You can't just make a film and think teens will enjoy it just because it has lampshading. That's just throwing things at the wall and hoping that they stick.